For decades, textbooks told us that the king of dinosaurs was an immigrant, a derivative species that arrived late to the party.
For decades, textbooks told us that the king of dinosaurs was an immigrant, a derivative species that arrived late to the party.
But we were wrong. The tyrant lizard king was not an invader. It was born right here, in the blood-soaked swamps of the American Southwest. Meet your original king. For 40 years, it was cataloged, tagged, and promptly ignored.
The scientists who found it at the Hall Lake Formation in 1983 assumed it was just another Tyrannosaurus rex, a standard specimen, nothing special.
They looked at the massive jawbone, saw the violence etched into the fossilized enamel, and moved on.
They were looking at a ghost, and they didn't even blink.
It wasn't until 2024 that a team of researchers decided to take a second look.
What they found hidden in the calcium and rock was not a T-Rex. It was something else. Something older. Something that shattered our timeline of evolution.
The forensic evidence etched into this jawbone tells a story of a creature that prowled the volcanic coastlines of Laramidia.
7 million years before the famous T-Rex ever took its first breath. Is not a rough draft. This is the Tyrannosaurus Mcraeensis.
Welcome to Prehistoric Planet 3D.
Using advanced VEO3 reconstruction technology, we are going to peel back the layers of time to reopen this cold case. We will transport you back to the isolated laboratory of Laramidia, a lost continent where evolution ran wild. Creating a predator so terrifying it laid the genetic foundation for the ultimate killer. In science, the most dangerous phrase is, "We already know that."
In 1983, when amateur fossil hunters stumbled upon a massive, disarticulated skull in the Hall Lake Formation of New Mexico.
The scientific community fell into that exact trap.
They looked at the size of the bones. They looked at the terrifying teeth. And they shrugged.
It's a Tyrannosaurus rex, they said. Case closed.
It was boxed up, labeled as a curious but ultimately redundant specimen, and sent to the New Mexico Museum of Natural History and Science.
For decades, it was nothing more than a footnote.
But fossils have a way of waiting. They are patient.
In 2024, paleontologists, including Sebastian Dalman, Anthony Fiorillo, and Nick Longrich, decided
They weren't looking for a new species. They were simply conducting a routine analysis.
But as they cleared away the rock and reconstructed the jaw, the anomaly became impossible to ignore.
The lower jaw, mandible, was wrong.
If you look at a classic T-Rex jaw, it is thick, robust, built like a hydraulic crusher designed to pulverize bone.
But this jaw was slender. It was curved. It lacked the distinct, blocky chin that defines the T-Rex we know from the movies.
And then there were the teeth. They were slightly different in arrangement.
Suggesting a bite mechanism that wasn't just about crushing force, but about speed and shearing capability.
The team ran the dating analysis on the surrounding rock layers, and that was when the floor dropped out from under them.
The sediment wasn't from the late Maastrichtian age, the twilight of the dinosaurs 66 million years ago.
It was from the Campanian age. This creature walked the Earth 72 million years ago.
It was impossible for this to be a T-Rex. It was a grandfather. It was a prototype. It was Tyrannosaurus Mcraeensis.
To understand why this history changes everything, you have to look at the map. Not the map of the United States as of today.
72 million years ago, North America was drowned. A massive body of water known as the Western Interior Seaway sliced the continent in half.
Stretching from the Arctic Ocean down to the Gulf of Mexico. To the east lay Appalachia, to the west lay Laramidia.
Laramidia was an island continent, a long, narrow strip of land extending from modern-day Alaska down to Mexico.
It was a biological pressure cooker. Isolated from the rest of the world, the dinosaurs here didn't have the luxury of infinite space.
They were trapped in a lush, volcanic environment where resources were rich, but competition was absolute.
This isolation created a phenomenon known as the Laramidia Laboratory.
For years, the prevailing theory was that the tyrannosaurs evolved in Asia and crossed over the Bering land bridge into America.
But Mcraeensis destroys that theory.
Its presence in New Mexico 72 million years ago proves that the lineage of giant tyrannosaurs didn't arrive in America. It evolved in America.
The pressure of Laramidia forced smaller predators to grow larger, faster, and deadlier to survive against the titanic herbivores of the region.
The king of dinosaurs is a native son of the American Southwest.
To understand the danger of Tyrannosaurus mcraeensis, you have to stop looking at it as an animal and start looking at it as a piece of biological engineering.
For years, we believed the T-Rex was the endpoint of a long, slow climb up the evolutionary ladder. We thought nature needed millions of years to perfect the heavyweight boxer build. Thick bones, massive muscles, and that famous...
But Mcraeensis defies the rules. It arrived on the scene fully formed, already a titan, 7 million years ahead of schedule. Estimates place it at roughly 40 feet in length and weighing up to 10 tons. It wasn't a smaller ancestor, it was a peer.
But the devil is in the details. The jaw of the T-Rex is a bone-crushing hydraulic press.
Mcraeensis is different. Its jaw is more slender, its teeth slightly more recurved.
It was a faster, sharper version of the brute force that would come later.
And it needed to be. The world it lived in was not empty.
It shared the swamps with Sierraceratops, a horned dinosaur built like a tank with spears on its face.
To kill a tank, you don't just knock on the door. You have to be surgical. You have to be a ghost.
Let's go back. The year is 72 Balian BC. The location is the Hall Lake Basin of New Mexico.
The air is thick, smelling of sulfur and rotting vegetation. Ash.
Silence is a rare commodity here. The insects are loud, a constant droning buzz.
A solitary Sierraceratops lowers its massive head to drink from the murky water. It is nervous.
It knows the rules of Laramidia. If you can hear it, it's probably not hunting you. It's what you don't hear that kills you. The water ripples. Not from the wind, but from a displacement of mass.
Suddenly, the trees explode.
There is no roar. Not yet. Predators don't roar when they attack. They only roar when they've won.
The Tyrannosaurus Mcraeensis bursts from the tree line with a speed that defies physics for a 10-ton animal.
It's like a freight train.
But instead of clamping down and holding on, the jaws snap shut and rip back. The recurved teeth act like serrated steak knives.
The horned giant bellows, swinging its lethal headgear, but the ghost is already gone, circling, waiting.
The Mcraeensis doesn't need to risk injury in a prolonged wrestling match. It has delivered the fatal blow. It simply watches, its reptilian eyes processing the calculus of death, waiting for the blood loss to do the work.
This is the reality of the new T-Rex. It wasn't just a brute. It was a tactical genius of the Cretaceous.
When the massive herbivore finally collapses into the mud, the silence returns to the swamp. And then, only then, does the king roar.
The reign of Tyrannosaurus Mcraeensis did not last forever. As the epochs turned, the great western interior seaway began to recede.
The lush, volcanic swamps of Laramidia slowly dried up, and the world changed.
But its legacy did not die. The genetic blueprint it forged, the terrifying size, the dominance, the apex.
It was refined by evolution. It was perfected by time.
7 million years after Mcraeensis vanished, its direct descendant would rise to become the most famous creature to...
The T-Rex we know was not a fluke of nature. It was the final masterpiece.
This discovery forces us to confront a humbling truth. We barely know our own planet.
If a 10-ton monster can hide in a museum drawer, misidentified and ignored for 40 years,
what other mythical beasts are waiting in the rock, just inches away from discovery? The history of our world is not set in stone.
So, I have a question for you. In a head-to-head battle between the original slasher, Tyrannosaurus Mcraeensis, and its bone-crushing descendant,
speed and agility versus pure, crushing power? The prototype versus the perfected?
If you want to see us resurrect the Spinosaurus for a terrifying deep-sea showdown in the next episode,
make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications.
You are watching Prehistoric Planet 3D. Welcome to the new history.